For what seems like the first time ever, we've all gone from 60 to 0. Because right now, home is the safest place to be. Which is why AutoTrader is proud to introduce Dealer Home Services. Search, shop, and find local dealers offering touchless delivery to your home. What we do now when the world stands still is what will get us all moving again. AutoTrader.
I'm Tim Fazenbaker, born and raised right here in the heart of the 2nd District. I grew up in a blue-collar town, Dundalk, where many residents worked at companies like Bethlehem Steel and General Motors. When those companies left, public officials neglected our area. When I was a touring musician, I saw how many other cities were thriving. My parents pushed for a better life for me. I graduated from Towson University. At an early age, I became an executive in the mental health field. Now, I'm married with 5 children. They are my everything. Now, my focus is to make a better life for all of our kids. I'm ready to fight for all of us. We've seen much of our district battling high crime, high taxes, drug addiction, homelessness, and a lack of high-paying jobs. We are facing a lower quality of life for a higher price tag. That's why I'm running for Congress. My plan is to put our kids first. Together, we can stop this corruption, provide safer neighborhoods, and a 21st century education, giving our children the resources needed to be successful in life. Let's stand together for the future of America. I'm Tim Fazenbaker, and I approve this message.
Good evening. My name is Frank D'Onofrio, and I'm here at the NRNplus.com New Right Network virtual town hall. And my guest tonight, once again, for the second time in a week, is Tim Fazenbaker from Maryland 2. Welcome, Tim, to the NRNplus.com town hall. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me again. I'm very much looking forward to this.
So am I. I tell you, Tim, the last town hall we had was inspiring. I'll be honest with you. For me, it was inspiring as somebody who is a new to politics. This is a hobby for me, but I'm having a lot of fun in the hobby, and I'm having fun watching you stake out your claim for your second career, because, you've been successful, and I want you to, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to tell us about what you're about, for those who have not seen you before, and those who did. And right now, I'm going to let you know that we are also being simulcast by the Vets for Trump group. I'm going to thank them for joining us today. Let me tell you something. The foundation is growing. So, Tim, I'm giving you the floor for the next few minutes.
Yeah, thank you very much, Frank, and thank you, New Right Network. My name is Tim Fazenbaker. I am 42 years old. I am from Baltimore, and I want to represent this district because I can do it better. And here's a couple things about me. I'm a father of 5. I am a military family. I was a former executive in the mental health care field, and I did not want to get into politics. But that's why I had to get into politics, because and I'm a conservative Republican, even the local Republicans here were messing up things that didn't make me happy. And I saw what was changing for my children. And I said, I'm going to do something. I've had enough of what was going on. And then Baltimore gets into the news about the corruption that's going on everywhere with the murders and the missing money. And I said, we've had enough. Let's step it up even more. So I'm running for Congress because I'm not a politician and I want to do what's right. I want term limits. I want real representation for the people. And I was born and raised right here in the heart of this district. I know the district. I love this district. Love it for its positive things and its flaws. and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make this district better, to get out of the shadow of our tyrant that's been in office for 42 years here, Dutch Ruppersberger, who we now call Out of Touch Dutch.
Yeah, well, I have another name for him. If you all remember the Seinfeld episode, when Kramer went to work at this company and nobody knew his name, and that was the way he was able to stay there, to even though he didn't get paid, he's able to stay work. So I call him the Cosmo Kramer of Congress, because you never see him, you never hear from him. He's just disappeared. Yeah. Okay. Sometimes it's a good thing and sometimes a bad thing. If he disappeared and you didn't hear from him and he didn't vote, that would be better.
Yeah, I agree there.
Tim, I'm going to just jump right in here, because I think that it's really important that I want to talk first about Maryland politics, because I think Maryland politics is very important, and then I want to go outside the political end, and I want to talk about national politics, because you are running for national office. Okay. Mm-hmm. Let's put it this way, Tim. Let's not push it aside. Okay. Dirk Hale wrote an email to Kim Classic saying that she couldn't win this district, okay, if Jesus Christ was running. Okay. It was so gerrymandered. So I'm going to ask the same question to you that I would ask her. Your district is way gerrymandered. Why do you think you even have a shot?
Yeah, so for clarification, Kim Klacik is a candidate for Baltimore's 7th district, which borders against mine. Dirk Hare is basically the head of the Republican Party here in Maryland. These districts have been gerrymandered, and if you haven't seen it on a map, I suggest just Google it or message me and I'll show you a picture. My district's actually a +7 Democrat, which means it's strong Democrat, but it's not as bad as, say, District 7, Kim's. However, a lot of Republicans over the years have voted for Dutch Ruppersberger. The reason why this can be flipped this time is not only am I thinking this, but many national people have came to me and said this seat is susceptible to being flipped for a couple of reasons. One, the demographics are changing, but people have saying that they've had enough. This seat can be flipped because Out of Touch Dutch has forgotten who he was and how he got into office. He doesn't represent the people anymore. As an example, he used to consider himself a moderate, and he did stay low. He didn't try to make any type of big noise. However, he was afraid he was going to get a challenger, someone like an AOC. So he moved so far to the left. He started backing the Council on American Islamic Relations, which is it's known as a terrorist group. He's backing the Green New Deal. He's going so far to the left that all the Republicans that did back him are saying, not anymore. Most of the Democrats are saying, wait a minute, something's not right. We're not socialist. That's why our message is resonating, because we are looking to unite this city, this district, and we're actually looking to do things for the district and not be a puppet for Nancy Pelosi and the left-wing agenda. The seat will flip. We will be the seat that actually flips the House of Representatives. And that's what made me so proud and make so many people proud that we actually brought down the David and Goliath situation that's going on here. That's how I know we can win. And I've seen the ground level where so many Democrats are supporting me and supporting this campaign because they've had enough and they like my message, which is an all-American message. It's let's put our towns and communities first. It's all about America first. We do that, we can help everybody.
Yeah, Tim, I really agree with you on that one. One of the things I want to focus with in terms of Dutch Ruppersberger is one of the things that he is a proponent of, and most of the Democrats are, okay, is opening up our borders, letting people in, having people who are not genuine Americans take jobs of Americans. And I'll be honest with you, you know my background. I'm an IT guy. Okay, I've been in IT for over 40 years, and I have to fight for my job for a job against people that weren't born here, that don't live here, that don't have an American citizenship. I don't mind if you weren't born here. My family came from Italy, so I understand that, and that's great. But I should not have to fight for a job that I have been working on by people coming in here and underselling me at a reduced rate, and then it's just horrible. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's unbelievable to think that we can be used as pawns in American politics, and how the new world order and agenda trumps what basically we Americans want. We want the ability to get these resources that we pay in for. We want the jobs. We want first crack at these types of things. And then we believe that if we need extra help, we will bring in the best and brightest. If we can do that, we have a strong foundation, and we can help billions of people around this world like we have for forever. And so many things, so many people, especially on the far left, will say, well, hey, if you're America first, you hate immigrants. No, it's not true. Like you said, your family's, I believe you're Sicilian. I might be right. I might be wrong. I know you're Italian. We'll just go there. But even with who I am, and when people say, hey, the American first thing's wrong, I'm saying, they don't even realize, and I never even said it, but I've helped sponsor somebody from Ecuador to come here. He came here. He was a strong, productive person, and I've helped people from Norway and Sweden and all over the world, because growing up in Baltimore, we're right outside DC. I loved all the different cultures that were here.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes America, America. We just want you to come here the right way, and then understand that we get the first crack at the resources right here in America, because that's who we are. We're a nation. If we don't have borders, we'll never be a nation. We'll be ruled by one government across this world. And believe me, that's not what we want.
No, I agree. By the way, half my wife's family's from Sicily. Okay. My family's from the bootstrap, we say, in the Naples area, but that's okay. But I'm an American. I'm 100% American. Right. That's, if you take me to Italy tomorrow, okay.
Yes.
I will not look like an Italian. I look like an American. Okay. That's just the way it is. So, I want to get back to something though that you said, because I think it's very, very important. Okay. Our children should not have to fight for the jobs that are out there. Okay. We have done a very good job, okay, in this country of dumbing down the education system so that our children aren't as schooled as they were as when I went to school, probably when you went to school. And then we dumbed it down so much. And then from the fact of the matter is that then other people are coming in and taking these jobs. And also we're not training people in the types of jobs that need to get done.
Right.
So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the education system, and I've said for a long time, we shouldn't have this federal push for education. Education really should be about constructive, critical thinking. When you have this global mindset of what education is going to be, it can be easily manipulated so that it is a closed loop. What I mean by that is the education system can get donations from politicians, get support from them, and then they turn around and they give that money back to politicians, and it just goes through that loop. What we're saying is, let's really invest in educating our children and not indoctrination. Growing up my whole life, it was you have to go to college, and I did. And I'm glad I did. It was great for me, but it's not for everybody. Many of my friends, they work in the trades or they do something different, and they make great livings. We don't teach these people the correct path to go into. And we don't always know what it's going to be, but we need to give these children an option. And we should not be forcing things that are not basic education. We need to make sure that we hit the core: history, English, science, math, those types of things. A lot of these other studies, they're not productive. So people are racking up debt when they go to college. They get out, they can't find a job. Why are we pushing money into those types of fields and giving people scholarships for certain things when we know there's a good chance they're not going to get a job, and it's basically putting themselves into debt. We need a complete overhaul in that. We need to put children first, not the education first. The children have to come first.
Well, I'll add to that. You and I are both musicians, okay? I'm a singer, you're a guitar player, okay? And if you wanted to go to school to be a musician, great, okay? But, what you need to do is take a look at what happens when you get out, okay? And $30,000 in debt, okay, or $50,000 in debt, okay, for a liberal arts degree, in my mind, is a waste of 4 years, okay? Just to be honest with you, if you're not getting something for it. Now, I'll be honest once again, that it took me 40 years to get my undergraduate degree. Okay. Actually 35 years to get my undergraduate degree. I'm persistent. but when I started, I was in IT. And back then, when you started in IT, there were very few. We owned the IT industry as a nation. This is where you came to get IT skills. All right. And all of a sudden it flipped. And I said, I have been working I'm working what I do in IT and program and project management in IT for over 40 years. Why should I have to get in the back of the line for somebody else who doesn't have the experience I have, and B, is coming in at a rate, sometimes they're selling at a rate that's half of mine.
Right.
Okay. Which is lowering the cost of everybody. Okay. And that's just not the way economics is supposed to work. The free market doesn't work that way. All right. So you can finish that and then I'll go to the next question.
Yeah. It's common sense. Like if you have people right here that are productive and then they're willing to work and do what's needed for this country, to do what's needed for their family, and you give preference to somebody else that's not from here for whatever that reason may be, that is immoral. That is stealing from the Americans that actually been working and paying into a system that isn't there for them. That's wrong. And it's hurting so many millions of Americans. We are going to stop that. We will overhaul that system.
Absolutely. And it's like, now I've bought a house, I've got a family, I've got kids, I've got bills. Oh, by the way, you don't have a job. Pull that rug right out from under you, and all of a sudden there's nothing there. It's not right. We're gonna switch for a second, or switch gears for a second. We have a video that was submitted, okay? And we'd like to play that video if you get a chance. Thank you. OB, it's up to you.
Hi, Tim. I would like to know what inspired you to donate to kids with cancer. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. So this is near and dear to my heart. My platform has been about American kids first. And that really just means kids in general, but we need to take care of our own right here first. Kids with cancer, basically the Children's Cancer Research Fund is specifically what I'm looking for. I want to give back to the most vulnerable out there. And part of the reason I want to do that is because it's the right thing to do. And I have a specific story, which I'll talk about in a second. But also it's a gesture of mine that I don't talk about very often, but it's a way of saying I'm not running to make money. I'm running to do the right thing. And I'm trying to lead by example. And Donald Trump, we know he donates his salary. There's not a whole lot of press that's talked about it, but we're not looking for press. We're looking to do the right thing. And that's what I want to do. I want to give back. And I want to set an example to say, hey, politicians, you're making $174,000 a year. That's way more than the average person. Give back if you want to be a true public servant. So I grew up with someone who had a son who was about to graduate high school, and he ended up finding out that he had cancer, and he's in remission now, but he was battling that. So when that began to happen, it really hit home to say, our kids are vulnerable, and it was this young man's life. He's so young and he's got all that future ahead of him. And it really made me pause for a second and say, what is our priority? It's really about taking care of ourselves. And it's not about, the hustle and the grind of every day. It's about, living and experiencing life and having our children be healthy and safe. So I wanted to do something, and I won't say his name and the mother's name, but it was something that I thought that brought me to believe that this was a good thing to do. And that's why I'm going to be donating myself $50,000 every year of my salary to kids with cancer.
Wow, Tim, that's amazing. I applaud you for that. That's beautiful. I have a very healthy family. I have 5 children, and I have 12 grandchildren. The 12th grandchild is going to be born this year, grandchild. So every day you just hold your heart in your hands and just hope that there for the grace of God go I, and to watch a child go through that, I don't care what age or whatever, someone with their life ahead of them, okay, to have that kind of issue, it's unbelievable. And that, and unfortunately that's, it's something that we have to work through in life, that these things do happen. But I'm so happy that that's something that you've set your life and your focus to. We have a question from a Stephen Hines. Stephen says, Tim, POTUS just gave the farmers and ranchers $16 billion of the CARES Act. And then POTUS also said he wanted to stop the trade deal of meat. How can we work with our Commissioner of Agriculture to do that?
I think I understand where the question's going, and I'll make it a top-down approach first. We need to take care of our own. So yes, a lot of these people are having issues now because of this pandemic, the politicization of this as well, and the actual virus itself and the harm that it's causing. So we need to find ways to take care of ourselves and of other Americans. The whole supply chain system right now is a mess. We're killing chickens, we're killing cows and pigs all over the place because of this whole pandemic, and it's destroying lives of people. I'm not a proponent of typically of bailouts or anything like that, especially corporate bailouts. But in this situation, we need to bail out the American, and that means the farmers and things like that. We need to make sure we put leverage on agriculture and those politicians and say, look, these resources need to go to these places and not have that money get reallocated when it gets there. Because a lot of times that money goes and it comes into a state, and then the state goes, well, we're going to hold this money, which is something maybe we'll talk about with unemployment. They hold the money, they decide it has to go somewhere else. Ultimately, the person that needs to benefit from that money a lot of times does not get that money. What we need to do is make sure we bring awareness to it. And if it doesn't get down to those people, we make sure we put pressure and get in the media and say and tell everybody what's going on and hold these politicians accountable for destroying people's lives and not doing what they're supposed to do, which is serve the people.
Absolutely. Last night, I know you heard my interview with Zalika Bazemore, who's running for the mayor of Baltimore. And she told a very good story about how the left does their bait and switch. Okay, she told a story about her plan for revitalization of Baltimore and how the mayor of Baltimore City, Mayor Pugh, took her plan and pitched it to Ben Carson, okay, and who's the HUD commissioner. He loved it. He loved the plan. He allocated, okay, $35 million of funds from the federal government to the city of Baltimore. Well, a funny thing happened on the way to getting that money. Mayor Pugh gave about $4 million to some small programs out there, which was a little more than 10%, and $31 million went in a nice fat check, okay, to a not-for-profit organization, okay. Over 85% of that money did not get to the people that it should have gotten to. It did not help with homes. It did not help with building. It did not help with a single thing. Not a single building or business was built with that $30 million. It's a bait and switch. What are you going to do about that?
Same thing. You need to first make sure if this happens, you get it out in the press, and you need to stand up. There are many people that get bought off with saying, hey, look, we're going to divert funds, but we're going to take care of you if you just turn the other cheek. Not me, because I'm not in this for money or power or anything like that. I'm doing it for my kids, your kids, my city, my state, and my country, because that's what comes first. And it's all about doing what's right, not what's greedy and evil. It happens so much. And I'll talk a little bit about unemployment with that. These states are getting money for unemployment, and yet these people that are applying for unemployment aren't getting these funds. And it's been 10 weeks. We're saying, where's the money? Something's up. Did they not have the money that they were supposed to have, that they've been putting aside? Or are they letting it get interest or something? There are things that need to be explored. But also on top of that, proper legislation and proper, getting rid of some of the red tape so that this money doesn't go through these scary, nebulous channels. They go exactly to the people. The people are better with their money than the government is. Look how far we're in debt. That's the government that did it. That wasn't the people.
Absolutely. And you know what, Tim? I laugh at people who say that unemployment is a handout. every check that you get, a percentage of your check goes to the unemployment office, the unemployment department. The federal government does a very poor job. Okay, and I would love to see the accounting on this. Does a very poor job of finding out where that money is, because it should be accounted for. Okay, now I know we're spending a lot right now, but there are years that we don't have a high level. We didn't have a high level of unemployment for the last 2 years. Okay.
Right.
And so many people are paying into a fund. And I know that this is an extraordinary effort. So this is another conversation. But this should be a self-funding operation.
Yep.
Okay. It should not be something that the government should be pulling out of the general funds unless they set it up so that they can eat it.
Right. And again, this is the difference, that dichotomy of what I will say is a two America system: the haves and the have-nots. The haves, they will take care of themselves, and I classify that as the politicians and their corporate donors and things like that. But the people are the ones that suffer. Yet a lot of people don't even realize that they actually are paying into unemployment. And when it's needed, now they go for it, and all of a sudden it's, well, you're gonna have to wait, or we're gonna find a reason to deny you, or something along those lines. They're not putting the people first. And it's evident throughout human history. Mankind has its evil flaws, and has great traits too. And we're fighting this every step of the way, because there's always that greed and evilness in human nature that we have to stop. That's why the Constitution was written, and Bill of Rights. It was a checks and balance system to make sure that the government couldn't tell us what to do. We told the government what to do.
Absolutely. And I think Voltaire said that evil flourishes when good men do nothing.
Correct.
Okay. Good men. And I know that you're out to do something about this. And it's really important that people understand that. I'm going to throw another curveball at you just for a second. Okay.
Yeah.
If you're from the area, okay, you're very aware of the Bethlehem Steel. Okay. And Bethlehem Steel retirement, where people were given a retirement fund. Okay, they paid into the retirement fund. Okay, and then the company raided the retirement fund, and then after the company had no money there, okay, they went back to the people who had retired. Okay, and said to them, "Oh, guess what? We're cutting your benefits." Okay, all right. So that's your responsibility. All right. Now the unions understood that. They weren't happy with it. And then all of a sudden the government's decided, okay, here's what we're going to do. Okay, we're going to offer 401ks. All right. And then these wonderful, businesses said, okay, what we'll do is, instead of the defined pension plan, we're going to give you money in your 401k. All right. Which is fine. Okay, I get that. It was less money than they were getting in the defined pension plan, but it was still money set aside for them. Okay. Now, fast forward 40 to 50 years later, the federal government is having a problem funding Social Security. And the Democrats are saying, wait a minute, you know what? That $500,000 or $250,000 that you have, or the $100,000 that you have in your retirement fund, well, that's not really yours. We want that money to give it to other people.
Right.
Okay. And so now the unions, the unions are not understanding that the benefits that they fought so hard for, that they gave up wage increases for, again, the bait and switch. Talk about it.
I'm really glad you brought this up, because I haven't heard this question or statement in a long time. And it's people were very sensitive to that exact story that happened here with Bethlehem Steel. People paid in, they were promised, a return with their payment into the system, that they were going to have a pension, and they got screwed. Many of those people aren't alive anymore. I'm sure some still are. And so that story's faded away, but it's evidence of what happens with people. And the government, they will get you to pay in. They tell you all the bells and whistles, and then they will basically just screw you over when it comes time for you to say, I want what's mine. They don't care. And we need protections. We need people to fight for the average American. And the Democrats used to say that they stood for the average guy and the worker. We don't see that now, and there are a lot of Republicans, and there probably still are some Democrats, but there are a lot of Republicans that do fight for the average person. And then there are some that aren't. But all that matters is, there are people out there like myself, I'm sure like you and many people watching right now, that will stand up and fight for the average American, because this is about us. It's not about a government. It's not about a party ideology. It's about doing what's right. And if you make a promise to a person, you fulfill that promise, and you don't take out big cash cows, money plans and stuff like that while you screw everybody else. That's not right. And the government is problematic with this. They always use the scare tactic with Social Security. I promise I will do everything I can to make sure that if you pay into a system, you get what is rightfully yours.
Social Security is flawed. Let's be honest with one another.
Yes.
Because you can, for the most part, work your whole entire life. Okay. You turn 65, you start collecting Social Security. You die tomorrow, and your benefits are all gone. Okay. Yeah. You don't get those. Okay. It's so all the money that I put in for the last 40, 50 years. And I've done the calculations right now, it'd be about 1.7 million. If all of the money that I put into Social Security got allocated to me, I'd have about 1.7 million. Okay. And I should be in charge of that, but I'm not. So then they created the 401k, which I should be in charge of it. And now they're telling me, well, guess what? You know what? You may have put that money away, but we did it tax free. So therefore we should have a piece of that. I'm telling you, it's hard. It's hard to grow up, and I can't make the money that I made 20 years ago. Okay. And after I'm retired, there's just no way I can make that money ever again.
Yeah. It's a rigged system. And I know many people watching right now are saying, if you are getting Social Security, it's not enough. It's sitting there. You're thinking like, yeah, if I did pay in $1 million, why am I getting $1,200 a month? I'm never going to collect as much of that $1 million as really I should. Where is it? I mean, we know the government's getting interest on those types of that money coming in. So it's just not right. It needs to be overhauled like many other things. But first of all, we need to honor any promise we made to any single person to say, well, you get what's rightfully yours, while we try to figure out a better system that benefits the person, not the government.
Well, I got 20 years on you, Tim. So I'm closer to the 65 number. I'm 5 years away from the 65 number. So, and honestly, I will tell you the God's honest truth. Okay. When I started in Social Security and I heard all about things going on, and we're talking back in the 70s, I never thought it would be there for me. But now as I'm getting closer to it, I'm saying, well, wait a minute, that's a supplement. It's the base. And then I should be able to develop something above the base. But I'm telling you, and then, we'll get it. This about me as well. My wife had cancer. So a lot of my savings went to making sure that she was, she was alive. And so we just don't have the same amount of money put aside that we did 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's hard. I want to keep going. I have another question from David Friedman. David said, Tim, the U.S. Senate just passed a bipartisan education act for more schools to teach the Holocaust, which I think is wonderful. Unfortunately, a lot of teachers and principals continue to push their political views in the classroom. What can you do as a lawmaker to make sure that the teachers are teaching history as written? Well, I don't even see as written, as it occurred.
Yes, they're good choice of words there. This goes back to what we were talking about a little earlier. We need to teach the basics, and we need to teach things like history. So everybody knows the saying that if you don't understand your history, it's doomed to repeat itself. Something along those lines. There are a lot of people who don't believe in the Holocaust ever happening or anything like that. So that comes from a mindset of, well, we're going to be anti-American, or be anti-Israel, or anti-Jew, anything along those lines. So you get these people that will indoctrinate, and that's what's wrong. We need to teach the children to be critical thinkers and teach the real history, teach the core basics, and not this other social engineering type stuff that they do. So yeah, I would support legislation for something like this, because I think only 7 states in the union right now requires some kind of training along or educating on these lines. But if we don't talk about these types of things, they're going to happen again. And if I remember right, I'm a big YouTube person. I watch a lot of YouTube. I think they take down a lot of anything with Hitler on in YouTube. And everybody hates talking about, every politician always says, never talk about Hitler on anything. But for this reason, if we don't see what happened,
right,
then we're not educated to it happening
Absolutely.
again. We need to understand what happened so we have ability to prevent these types of things from happening again.
Well, I'm a Catholic. I'm a member of the Knights of Columbus. And this month's issue of the Knights of Columbus magazine that came out had an article written by a man who went to the army, and his last job before he left the army was to visit Auschwitz, okay, and to get the people out of Auschwitz. It was a 2-page article, and I must tell you, Tim, I was crying at the end of it. Okay, this man said what he saw was inhuman. Okay, and I know that you have friends. I have friends that I grew up with. Okay, who either have family who have numbers on their arms. Okay, or friends of them. Okay, let me tell you something. Anybody that denies the Holocaust, okay, let's put it all in perspective. You want to talk about climate deniers? Okay, climate change is made up. Okay, in my mind. Okay, the Holocaust happened.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a denier. That's somebody who denies that a actual inhuman situation occurred and millions died.
And I have to say, when you have people like Out of Touch Dutch and many others who come out and support organizations like CARE, it's a slap in the face to millions of people across the world, especially in the Jewish faith and Jewish cultures, to say, I'm going to support somebody who really wants the destruction of you. And it's not just about Israel and Jewish people. It's about the American free way of life. And they consider Israel as America, and they just want to destroy that way of life, that freedom. It's the whole concept that they don't believe in what made America and Israel so great. They want to tear it down. I will always stand up for our allies in Israel, and I will always call out corruption when it happens as well, because America and Israel aren't perfect, but they're the best nations in the world.
Absolutely. Tim, to take that a little further, if you look at the protests in Hong Kong, okay, against the Chinese government, and you hear them singing the national anthem and showing American flags, they know. See, what the people in this country may not be aware of is that freedom ain't free.
Right.
Okay. All right. Ronald Reagan said that liberty is only one generation away from extinction. And I'm going to be honest, and I think you can agree with me on this one. This election may be the pivotal election when it comes to freedom in this country. Because if this is allowed to continue, freedom as we know it for our children and our grandchildren may be eradicated in this country within the next generation.
Yeah, everybody always says this is the most pivotal and important election. And it always keeps escalating, because this is what you're seeing right now is let's say a soft coup. They want to take over the entire American system. They want to overthrow a president by any means necessary. And we've seen it with the fake Russia collusion, which Out of Touch Dutch voted for. We've seen it we're seeing it right now with the politicization of this pandemic. If we don't stop them right now, they're going to have more power, and it's going to escalate quicker. We're going to lose more of our freedoms. So we must stand up right now.
Yeah, well, you know what? I've never seen a freedom that has been taken away that was ever given back. And the governors, the Democrat governors, and even our governor, honestly, okay, is taking away freedoms that I can't go to my church. I cannot congregate with people, okay, that I know. And then you have politicians that are encouraging tattletales to tell on people, okay, so that they, okay, can put people in jail. I posted a Twitter feed today, okay, about a woman that took her children out. She wasn't touching anybody, wasn't talking to anybody. She took her out without a mask. They arrested her in front of her children, cuffed her, and the policemen without masks were right in the children's faces. Okay? All right? And then on the other hand, we are releasing criminals, hardened criminals. Okay? I'm not talking about people who did, I'm talking about rapists and people who commit violent crimes. We're releasing them and sending an innocent woman with her children to jail. Talk about that.
Yeah, there's been a couple of stories about convicted murderers that were released because of this pandemic, and they've gone out and they've murdered people right away. It's a do as I say, not as I do. And this is a little side story, but it's a little interesting fact. If you know Larry the Cable Guy, I never thought I'd be talking about Larry the Cable Guy in a political thing. But Larry the Cable Guy was a regular before he became famous. He was a regular on a radio show in the Baltimore area. His catch line before Get Her Done was, "What the hell is this, Russia?" And what that really meant was, I mean, he grew up in a time where he remembers what the Soviet Union was like. You told on your neighbors all the time, because if you didn't, they'd kill you. That's what's going on right now. The government people are saying, hey, look, you better tell on those people, because, you know, something's in it for you. And if you don't, we're going to get you as well. So we're going to punish you for not doing what we say you have to do. Yet we're going to do what we want. And we've seen it with the mayor of Chicago recently. You can't go out and get your hair taken care of, but she went out and did it. And then she said, well, I'm the face of Chicago. I'm important. Well, I'm sorry. My life is important as well. Yeah. And that is why, you know, this is turning into what we saw, what many of us are a little bit older saw with the Soviet Union and East Germany, when that used to be around. They pushed you to tell on your neighbors. And then all of a sudden, these people disappeared in the middle of the night and never came back. That's the government's way of controlling people. Places like China, I'll wrap it up with this, they have a mindset that the state is more important than the individual. In America, we were founded that the individual is more important than the state.
Yes.
A group of individuals make a state. That is why we cannot let what's happening continue to happen, or we become the old Soviet Union, East Germany, or China.
Oh, I agree with you, Tim. And you know what? I never thought in my lifetime that I would enter a store. Okay. You know, you and I, you know, we grew up, I laughed at my aunt and uncle who were like hoarders. Okay. Who grew up in the Depression. Yeah. Okay. And said, that's never going to happen here. Well, let me tell you something. To walk into a grocery store, okay, to walk into Martin's and go down the aisles and see empty shelves. I went in last week, most of the pasta, okay, was empty. Yeah. Okay, pasta.
And you being Italian, that hurts.
Oh yeah, well, let me tell you something. That's like I live on that. But but when you think about it, you can't get pasta. We couldn't get yeast to bake, okay, for a month. Okay, so I mean, you're looking at empty shelves and you're saying to yourself, my children had to see this.
Yeah.
In the greatest country in the world, my children had to see this. And I'm going to tell everybody, I want everybody else out there, people who want socialism, guess what? Dress rehearsal for socialism, because it gets worse after that.
Yep.
Okay.
It's going to look good right now to some people where they're going, oh, I can stay home and make more money. It's just a bait and switch.
Yeah.
You're going to end up like Venezuela, Cuba, or what the Soviet Union used to be. It's the wisdom is my favorite virtue. And I tell everybody this because wisdom means that you learn something that you can pass on to somebody else. My grandparents and my father, for the most part, they had that hoarder mentality. They weren't hoarders like you see on TV, but they stocked up on things. And I remember I'm thinking, I'm a minimalist. I don't need all this stuff. That's never going to happen.
Right.
They learned, I mean, they were putting money in mattresses and things like that. Yeah. They learned because they lived through this with the Depression. And now we're starting to see it a little bit and we're getting a taste of it. And I understand now, I can empathize with what happened. Yes. It is weird to go in to a store, in my local grocery store, for 2.5, almost 3 months now. They've been out of product every time I go in there. And I asked the people, they said, we can't get enough product off of the trucks because now it's the supply is less. And
Right.
we're the best nation ever in the history of this earth. And we're having these issues. It's because socialism is creeping in. And
Hmm.
we're going to keep getting these issues unless we stop this right now and bring in real people, real Americans to push freedom in this nation.
Yes, Tim. Okay, we're gonna take a step back right now. This is newrightnetwork.com, NRM Plus, live virtual town hall. We're here with Tim Fazenbaker, and Tim is visiting us from District 2 in Maryland, which, to be honest with you, if you take a look at the map, your district goes like this, okay, over the top. It's
Yeah.
horrible. Gerrymandering at its finest. Okay. But at this moment, Obi, we'd like to run the next question if we can get a chance, and would like Tim to answer it.
Hi, Tim. How are you? As a teacher in Baltimore City, we are used to a failing school system. I want to ask, what do you plan on doing once you are
This
in
is a great
Congress
question.
to help the staff, the teachers, the students become much more successful?
Yeah, great question. Thank you for that. And I can imagine what it's got to be like to be a teacher in the city school system, because it's the third most funded school system in the nation, I believe, and their results are horrible. I hear the stories all the time about, what happens to other students, what happens to the teachers and staff. And we ask, well, if money is the solution, then why is Baltimore and even Maryland in general so far behind and falling farther behind and further behind? Well, we've recently had a bill that was passed, and the governor vetoed it at the moment, called the Kerwin Commission, which was a $40 billion with a B dollar tax increase here in Maryland to basically give more money to what they say is education. But as we were saying with the bait and switch, it's going to go into a top-down approach. If when many liberals are, the Democrats would say the trickle-down economics didn't work or whatever. Well, here you have trickle-down tax funding that's going into these like large groups, and they trickle down into the coffers that say, well, we're going to need this money, and I'm going to pay myself, and I'm going to take expenses for this, and then basically there's crumbs left for the students. And these students aren't really getting the money and the funds that are needed to properly educate and help these children. It's going into other people's pockets. So that needs to be addressed. And the way to do that is to take the power away from these people that are taking and stealing the money from the taxpayers and the children. That can be leveraged by pushing homeschooling, charter schools, private parochial type schools. There's so many ways to take away that power. You take away that power, you have freedom, and you can actually educate and teach the children to critically think. And that's one way to get around it. And the other part to this is a lot of the cities struggle because they don't have, say, the traditional family network. Now, family networks can work in any way, but we know that when you have a mother and a father in a house, the chances of the children being more successful in life drastically increase. So when we have people that grow up in a system where they realize, I don't need to get married and I'll get money from the government, which is the taxpayer, they end up just being a one-parent household, and there's more chance that the children will have a harder life, and it's not fair to the child. So we really want to push more of a nuclear type family, a two-parent family, to say, hey, we want what's best for the kids. It's not always going to happen, but if you can do it, that's what we need to encourage.
Well, Tim, I hate that, I'm not going to throw this one out there, but I thought that the money for the lottery was supposed to be assigned to education. And then I thought the money from the casinos was supposed to be allocated toward education. I mean, seriously, man, we're now going into the bizarre world at this particular point in time, because these things don't make sense. And Neil Cavuto has always said on Fox Business, has said, I don't care if you need more money, but show me what you did with what I gave you.
That's right.
Okay? And I don't see, there's no accountability either in Washington or in Annapolis or even in your local community. And it's getting downright crazy.
And some other stories that, go along with this corruption that we see in Baltimore and in Maryland and it doesn't get as much play in the media, is we've had the superintendents of Baltimore County schools in jail for doing these types of things where the money's just going somewhere else. And it's just an example of the top. If they can get away with these things, they will. And the people that suffer are the children. And I got to say that the school systems are so focused on that closed loop that I was talking about, where the money goes into the school systems, the money goes back to the politicians. It's not about the children first. That's what it needs to be. It needs to be about the kids and not lining your pockets with these things. We can stop that. We just need to stand up and say, we're going to vote a different way. We're going to vote real people in who really want to serve and not have it the other way around where the people are serving the government. That doesn't work.
I'm a writer, Tim, but we have a mayor that was a writer. She wrote a book about Holly, whatever her name was, and $500,000 went into her pocket, and the books never got delivered. But I'm just wondering if you'll buy my book, okay? When I can make no, I'm just joking.
I'll show a receipt transaction that I bought your book.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Okay, but it's crazy. It just you sit there and you go, the mayor of Baltimore, okay? The mayor of Baltimore is going to federal prison, okay, for extorting $500,000 or more. I don't know if they gave us the whole accounting of that. Okay. Yeah. And then Mayor Dixon, who's actually running, she stole money, okay, for her children and her friends. Okay. She stole gift cards. Okay. And she got to step down, keep her $83,000 a year pension. Okay. And was able to run again. That was the deal that she took to not get out. I'm telling you, money misappropriated in Baltimore. And if you're insane to keep voting for the same thing over and over again. I don't care if you think the Democrats are more pro-ever, whatever, they're not for you. I don't know if you know this. Did you know that this just came out today, that Baltimore, A, is not receiving all their ballots, okay?
Yes.
B, they're coming in, Republican ballots are coming in pink, and the Democrat ballots are coming in blue, okay? So they can differentiate who's, okay? And then the third issue is, I just heard today that there are ballots that people filled out in Baltimore that are getting shipped to South Carolina.
It doesn't surprise me. I will say that it's very strange when, I've received my ballot in the mail. My wife received hers a few days ahead of me, and it's like, well, we live in the same house. That was kind of alarming. But then it lists on the envelope your party affiliation. And I'm like, that's not really important. Maybe there's a reason why they do it, but it doesn't matter because it really shouldn't be out there.
It shouldn't be on the envelope.
Right. We all want free and fair elections, all the people that believe in freedom. And we want to do what we can to do. And, if mail-in ballots in theory were the best way to go, we can support that. But we know what happens when people have the opportunity to cheat. They will cheat. And we've seen it with the Healthy Holly scandal you were just talking about. She thought she could get away with it. The stealing of the gift cards. We saw it with the Dallas Dance, the superintendent of schools, who was doing nefarious things. And, he went to jail. It continually happens here. It has to change, but it can't change unless you vote a different way. So many Americans are out there fighting hard, speaking for the people. But if you don't vote them in, it's going to get worse.
Well, I want to tell everybody that there's a button at the bottom of your screen that says donate. If you donate there, it'll send you to Tim's donate platform, and you can donate money directly to Tim. Okay, if you're donating your money to the Maryland GOP, it may not get to Tim because the GOP chairman says that Jesus Christ couldn't get elected, so he's not going to invest money in those elections. I don't know what he's going to spend the money on, but that's a whole nother story for another day. This is very important. So please make sure that you donate to Tim's campaign. If you really believe in what Tim stands for, this is the point. This is the time to do it. This is the time. We got a couple of minutes left. I want to tell everybody that everybody got ballots in the mail. make sure your vote counts. Okay, this is an election that is very important. I'm lucky. I have probably the only safe Republican district in all of Maryland. Okay, but outside of my district, all 7 other districts really need your help. They need people to stand up and say something. Okay, vote for the people that you support, and if Tim Fazenbaker is the person that you support, please do so. Just going to add last questions for you. We're going to have a virtual rally this weekend, Tim. I heard that you want to be part of that. New Right Network, NRNplus.com is going to host a virtual rally with some of the greatest candidates in the entire country. We got guests coming that are just, we're trying to get it all lined up, but I hear that you're going to be one of them.
I will be there, and I love this that's going on. And it ties in with my campaign, and I'll keep this quick for you. So when I was going to run, I decided I'm going to go national because the Maryland Republican Party is not very strong, and they have their favorites. They want to put establishment in, and I don't think sometimes they're really serious about winning. So I went around the country and I started bringing in people like Brandon Strock from Walkaway Movement, David Harris Jr. And, I met people like Scott Pressler, and it's like, we all want to help, and we're all going to get together because as a group, we are stronger. So to have other candidates across the nation and wherever to be involved in something like this is amazing because there's strength in numbers. And the more of us that are out there, the better chance that we have of flipping this corruption that's been going on, because we have had enough.
Oh, absolutely. And we're almost done for the night. Once again, I want to thank you so much for being my guest tonight. You are the person that I feel very comfortable in saying I would vote for. Okay, and I appreciate you putting your life on hold to go do this. This is not easy. Okay, for NRNplus.com, NewRightNetwork.com, I'm Frank D'Onofrio. I'm here with Maryland's 2nd District, Tim Fazenbaker. Thank you, Tim, for showing up. Thank you for being part of this great opportunity. We're going to sign off. The hour goes by so fast with you. It's unbelievable. Thanks a lot, Tim.
Yeah, thank you.
Love me tender, love me sweet, never let me go. You have made my life complete, and I love you so. Love me tender, love me true. Oh,
we can like many, but we can love only a precious few. Because it is for those precious few that you have to be willing to do so very much. But you don't have to do it alone. Lincoln Financial helps you provide for and protect the financial future of those you care about most. Because this is what you do for people you love. Talk to an advisor. Lincoln Financial.